can say that my unknown, since it had a positive test for Benedict's, it must be an aldehyde or some kind of reducing sugar like an alpha hydroxyketone. That kind of reasoning and logic is much more interesting than just saying, well, unknown number 30 is an aldehyde. Done. It's much more interesting for you to be able to give the rationale for that. So try to have any written explanations be as thorough as possible, given kind of the rationale, being able to defend your results based on what observations you saw and what the observations mean. And last but not least, when you're done with this lab, the inquiry project that you are going to start to consider, this lab itself is pretty inquiry based. It's pretty, it allows you to investigate however you might like to investigate. So for inquiry, you could do another lab. So maybe, for instance, you instead of looking at sort of like a stock sugar like glucose, maybe we could see what other kind of sugars we have in the back stock room. That might be a lab that you might want to do, or you could also do an internet-based inquiry. And something to think about is that tests for reducing sugars is very important in the medical field for testing for diabetes. So if your career is in medicine right now, or if you are going to be in the medical field, it might be interesting for you to do an internet-based project where you just write me a report. And not just, it could be really fascinating to see what you can find out about reducing sugars and why they're important on the internet. So what that would look like is it would be a little bit more formal than a blog, but you would give an introduction, you would say what the test is. Well, nurses test for diabetes doing X, Y, and Z method. And then you would also give me the chemistry behind it. And so you would say, well, the chemistry or the biochemistry behind it. And so nurses do tests X, Y, and Z, and the reason why these tests work are da 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 da. And you could include equations and images that you get off the internet, and just be sure to cite your sources. So either way is fine if you want to do a lab and look at maybe other sugars, or possibly a further test to further reinforce what your unknown was. That is fine. And